Hello, this is Charlie. Welcome to My Messy Fingers. We have a new album we're going to be working with today, and I'm joining everyone with an album using the Keepsake edition from Graphic 45 of Let It Be. So this is going to be an 8x8 album with a 1 7/8 inch spine. I'm using my traditional binding method, which is the use of Tyvek. I have these measure 2 inches across with a 7/8 score and a 1 7/8 score because I want that hinge / gusset of a 1/4 inch when I put this all together. And these are a little bit long. I'm going to have to cut them down. So you're going to need to cut 2 8x8 panels, and then your spine is going to be again 1 7/8. And if you're using the Tyvek, you're going to want to cut these down to about 7 3/4 inches. There's no need to take it to the very end. Now, when I put this together, I'm going to be mounting it in this fashion so that this hinge is sitting at 1/4 inch. If you use a smaller hinge, then what's going to happen, these measure 1/8 inch, this chipboard. So what happens is if you're using a smaller hinge, these two are going to bind up, and then you're going to have all that cardstock, everything in there, and you're going to have rips on the back side of your album. So there's no need to go any bigger than 1/4 inch because then it will get sloppy. So 1/4 inch is what we're going to be making here for our gusset / hinge, and we're going to put this all together. Now I'm going to use a 1/4 inch spacer. I do have a few of these left on my Etsy site, and I will provide a link for this down below in that description field. So I'm just going to kind of measure a little bit here. Whoops, I slipped, but I think we're going to be okay. And then we're going to take off this secondary strip of tape. All right, so we're going to put this next one on. So again, I'm going to use my spacer because I really want to keep that 1/4 inch in there. And I'm going to hold it down a little bit firmer this time. And then I'm going to bring this right up next to it. This Tyvek, I have tried several times to tear it. I can stretch it, but I have difficulty tearing it. So it makes for a great binding agent. And because of it's a shipping envelope, so because it's that waxy, slick feel, your cardstock's going to glide over this rather than this rough edge, which will help to minimize your cardstock tear. And I'm going to put this back on here. And I'm going to hold it really firm. I'm going to, on my grid, on my desktop here, I'm going to line that up. And we're going to, so again, in case I missed it, these measure 2 inches. I actually did this at 7 3/4. You're going to score it at 7/8, and you're going to score it at 1 1/8. That will give you these score lines where you can measure in for putting your pieces together. Okay, so I'm going to line this up here at the bottom. Oops, what am I doing? And here is a perfect example why this spacer works awesome for me, because I had multiple multiple score lines on this because it slipped around on my scoreboard. So I have one solid good score line, so I used it to try and fix that. And that spacer helps to keep this definitely at 3/4 of an inch. Now, I'm kind of stammering here. I need to get going. All right, here we go. I am using what's called Black Ebony from Cardstock Warehouse. They're an online cardstock store. I use them almost exclusively. I like their quality of cardstock. There's no white core, and it's great paper to work with. So you're going to need 2 pieces. You're going to cut one that's going to be 10 by 10 and 5/8, and one's going to be 10 by 10. You're going to come in here with a 3/8 of an inch seam, and that's where I put my tape, and then I put it together. Now, when I actually put these two together, I want roughly an inch all the way around for wrapping. But you have a seam here, and I know you can't see it in the video, so I'll identify it. Here's the seam, and here's the other seam, 3/8. So I want this as close to the middle as possible because then the pressure on each side of this seam is equal. If you put this here, where that seam is right here, this becomes the pressure point, and you're going to have some problems. I personally do not like to see a seam out here, so I have cut these so that that seam, as best as possible, sits in the middle of the spine. Now we're going to take a 1/2 inch piece of tape and go around the perimeter of the cardstock, and then we're going to do 3/8 around the perimeter, but on this side we're going to put a lot of 1/4 inch tape. So let's kind of move that out of the way. Let's grab our, first off, what I do want to do is I'm running 1/2 inch tape up the edge of the chipboard. I want to make sure that this is nice and secure. We're going to do this on both sides. And then we'll finish off with, ooh, I thought it was a little dark. I needed to turn my lamp on. Get that burnished. Now we're going to grab the 1/4 inch tape, and I'm going to come down here at the end, and I'm going to start my tape here, and then I'm going to go in the middle. Crooked lines, but it doesn't matter. It's the tape coverage that matters. And I'm going to go in the middle of each section. Right, now we're going to flip it around, and we're going to do the same on this side, starting here at the end. And then we're going to go in the middle, thereabouts, the middle, and then the middle. Staying with this piece, we're going to burnish. And then we're going to turn it over, and this is where we're going to run the 3/8 inch tape. We're going to go ahead and get this done. I am not running tape up through the center. It's a waste. That will be dealt with in a couple more steps. Well, it's not actually going to be a waste because you'll see it'd just be unnecessary at this point. That's probably what I should have said. Okay, so let's get this. We're going to put this aside. I'm going to grab my 1/2-inch roll of tape and I'm going to go around the perimeter. I'm going to turn it around. Now we'll do the ends. All right, so let's get this burnished. Nice and firm, and now we're going to take this side up, this side down. And again, we're going to keep this seam roughly in the middle, and then we're going to come in here where we have about an inch on each end, top and bottom. Now, to start this, I'm going to hold my hand really firm over here. I need to see if I'm at an inch here. Yep, eyeballed that pretty good. Okay, so I'm going to hold this firm because I've got it centered. I don't want it moving. And I'm going to pick off the tape that's on the spine. And then I'm going to grab this, come up straight across, lay it down. Okay. Now we're going to pick this. Don't be in a hurry, please, because I have some instructions for you. This is wiggly, okay, until it's secured down. This is wiggly. So you're going to do a gentle pull and then lay it down. And by doing that, you're keeping this at 1/4 inch. Because if you don't, then these can sit in here lopsided. They could sit in here squished. A gentle pull. So now let's go ahead and let's pull the tape off this side and we'll get this part down. Oh, didn't mean to do that. Ah. Okay, another gentle pull, then straight down, and now we'll burnish. Time to miter our corners. I love my miter tool. Okay, there's one. There's two. 3 and 4. I have one of these left on my website, on my Etsy site, in case you're interested. All right, next we're going to do is pull this up, give it a good burnish, lay it over, and then we're going to start taking our tape off. Tape. I always call it tape, but it's the paper on the tape. Pull these down just a little bit because we don't want to tape over them. Take that one off. That one off. And that one off. Now let's finish. Flatten and turn these corners in. Okay. Let's go ahead and let's do this end. And again, we're going to remove that just partially. And then we're going to, the shorter ends are so much easier to get laid over. Flatten and turn that. And then we're going to come down here. And I'm going to go ahead and do this short end. Nice corners. Some of them sometimes aren't, but I'd say 90% of the time I've got it done right. It's the operator, not the tool. Okay, so these are rolled in. All right, let's get this. Get that paper trained to lay over, start in the middle. All right, now, the next thing we're going to do is we are going to lift this, find the bend here, and we're going to burnish this cardstock down into the hinge. There's tape on there, so it will attach to the Tyvek quite easily. And the emphasis is going to be on identifying this edge right here on both of these. Turn this over. And that's because we're going to be putting some more cardstock in there in just a few minutes. All right. And we have some, whoops, wiggly, some nice, crisp, clean corners. There's no bunching, there's no binding. Okay, so next is you're going to cut a piece that is going to measure 6 inches by 7 7/8. So this should just rest about 1/16 of an inch from both edges. All right, so it's going to go here, it's going to cover the spine. But before we do that, we need to put some tape on one side of this, and we're going to run this along the perimeter. And when we're done with this, we're going to grab our 3/8 inch tape and, oh, wow, I just ran out on that roll. Perfect. Ah. Here we go. All right, now we're going to run 3/8 of an inch tape here. This is why I said don't do it early on, because we don't need to waste that tape. We don't need to put on so much that it's got to go end to end. We are only covering the chipboard. We are not taking it the full length. We don't need to, because you're going to have 1/2 inch tape that's going to be on both ends of this. Now, 6 inches, this being 1 7/8, but by time you build in these hinges, this is going to expand just a little bit by the bulk of the paper that went on. So this being 6 inches, you want to try and put even amounts on both sides of the hinge. And I got mine laid down pretty nice, and I don't want to lose it. I hope I laid it down nice. Oh, very nice. Okay, cool. So I will, oh, gee, Louise, Louise, Charlie. You need to take this tape off first. Huh. No harm, no foul. Okay, so now we're going to just gently, I'm not going to burnish this yet, and you'll understand why here in a second. And then we're going to take this tape off, this paper off. Don't know why I keep saying tape. I'm silly. Okay, all right. Now, I'm not burnishing, I'm just tacking it down because this is why. We're gonna now bend this and we're gonna re-identify where that hinge is, and I want you focusing on the edge that comes up to the chipboard. I want you to identify that. We're going to do that on both sides. And if it cracks, I shouldn't use the word crack. If it creases the right way, you should be able to identify that fairly quickly. So this is the part that's important to me, is re-identifying where the spine is. And if you want to use one of these, that's fine. But I'm telling you, don't press too hard because you'll tear right through that paper. And then you're either tearing the project apart to redo it, or you're going to have to put some glue on it to seal in the paper so that it doesn't tear. Now we're going to push this down, and now we're going to burnish. So we've identified our spine. Now I've cut 2 pieces of black cardstock that are 7/8. Oh, I need to get some more tape out here. Hold on. Apologize for the noise. You're gonna cut 2 pieces that are going to measure 7 7/8 in height. And then on one end, you're going to score at 5/8 of an inch. I want this hinge, 5/8 inch hinge between my pages. That allows for some good buildup and hopefully keeps the signatures from smashing together. And at 5/8 of an inch, you should be using 1/2 inch tape. All right, now, this is one of those conundrums for me. It's like, okay, I'm gonna measure from here to here, and where do I cut this at? So the way my brain works, so no criticism, folks. The way my brain works is I put this up next to the spine. I pretend that the paper is in there, it's attached, and then I'm coming out here and I'm coming in about 1/4 of an inch. And now I will measure for you. So this measures at 8.5 inches. So 8 1/2 by 7 7/8, okay? I don't know if you can see it, but 8 1/2 by 7 7/8 with a 5/8 of an inch hinge. So now we're gonna come in here. Whoops, first off, let's cut this. There's one. At 8 1/2. There's 2. All right. Now, when I put these on, I'm going to take this edge right here, and I'm going to come just a fraction of an inch off of this defined edge that we've identified, and I'm just going to balance this in between the top and the bottom, and hopefully, and I'm not going to press too hard, because if I got to lift this in order to straighten it, see, I've got it crooked, I can see that already. So I'm going to pull this back just a little bit. Sometimes it works real easy, other times it doesn't. Okay, and now this one. So we'll take this off. And then we're going to take this edge and we're going to come sneak right up behind this one. And we're going to very gently lay it down, because what we need to make sure of is that these two are laying even. And look at that. Sometimes I amaze myself. Okay, so. All right, I am not covering these. It's a waste because we're going to build a signature that's going to go over that. So your two panels will be left uncovered. So now you've got 5/8, you have 5/8, and you have 5/8. This looks larger because you've got this backed up onto a seam, but it's 5/8. All right, so that is it for the actual album build. We will come back and we will start working on the beautification of the outside of this. So I will see you then. Bye-bye.